Has squile tanoyup, Janey Queensna, Tinachan Cla Chachel Wake, on Winoughton Squallowin, e Auchton Sequatal. Good day, everyone. My name is Janey, and I live over by the village of Chachel-Wake, which is close to the mouth of the Seymour River. I respect who I am and all my relations. I wanted to introduce myself in the Squamish Snacham, or the Squamish language, because it's one of the languages of the land that I call home now, that many of you likely call home. I'm not Squamish, I'm not indigenous to this land. In fact, my ancestors come from far, far away. My mother is from Hong Kong, and my father is from Yantai on the mainland of China. But I was born in North Vancouver, not far from where I am right now. And this is the land that I call home on Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh traditional territory. So in order to feel at home and to figure out my identity as a Chinese Canadian woman living on Coast Salish ancestral lands, I've spent a lot of time getting to know the Indigenous people of the land, as well as some of their culture and language. That introduction was taught to me by a group of Indigenous youth at Carson Graham Secondary School a number of years ago, and I am so honored and blessed to be able to carry those teachings and to be able to introduce myself in one of the languages of Kamkamilai, Vancouver. So much of those teachings have helped to shape who I am today. And the folks at LunarFest have invited me to share with you a little bit about my personal journey of connection to this land through the work that I do and through the learning about Coast Salish culture. So I actually teach ancestral skills. I focus on fish skin leather or fish skin tanning. And I also love the outdoors. And I spent a lot of time as an outdoor educator and a guide. And I'm also a mother of a 14-year-old son and a human being. And I'm always asking the question of myself, what does it mean to be human and alive? What does it mean to be a Chinese Canadian human and to feel alive every day? And so I wanted to start with a quick story about the carp that leap over Dragon Gate. And so every year, the carp would swim their way upstream on the Yellow River until they got to the base of this huge waterfall, which is otherwise known as Dragon Gate. And the source of Dragon Gate is the top of a high legendary mountain. And so every year, only a few would actually be courageous enough to attempt to leap over Dragon Gate, and even fewer would make the journey successfully and leap over Dragon Gate. And the few that did would be transformed into beautiful Chinese dragon. And to this day, when you see a Chinese dragon, you'll see on its skin is the scales of the carp. And I wanted to share that story with you because it's a story of transformation. And we're all in a state of transformation throughout our lives. And the work that I do is about transformation. I mentioned that I make fish skin leather, and it's something that I absolutely love doing because it connects me to a part of my ancestral heritage and also to the land that I call home. So you can do amazing things with fish leather, and fish skin artwork and textiles are actually linked to northern China. The Heizhen Fishkin tribe live on the south side of the Amur River, so in northeastern China. And they have a long tradition of making fish skin into art forms, painting with fish skin, and also making their clothing out of fish skin. And it's an almost forgotten skill in many parts of the world. The tradition also comes from the Ainu in Japan, and in Iceland, and in the Scandinavian countries, and indigenous people from Alaska, and all the way down the coast to where I am right now, to the land that I call home. There are very distant memories and stories of fish skin leather being made all up and down this coast, but almost forgotten, as I mentioned. So the work that I'm doing is an attempt to revive this beautiful, old, traditional ancestral skill. And so this work connects me to my Chinese ancestors. My father, being from Yantai, is from a fishing village traditionally, and so I'm connected to fish. And then here, living in Kamkamalai, Vancouver, we have ocean and rivers all around us, and fish in abundance. And so I'm connected to fish here as well. The work of reviving fish skin leather is now what I do. I teach virtual classes and in-person classes to people all over the world. And what inspired me to explore ancestral arts and skills is that exact question of who am I? What is my identity? Where do I come from? Where do my ancestors come from? And what are the things that my ancestors did? And sometimes I think specifically about my Chinese ancestors, and sometimes I think more generally about my human ancestors. And so earth-based skills are skills that connect all human beings, working with animal skins and tanning them and making them into leather for clothing and footwear and that sort of thing. Making plant medicines. You can see I have plant medicines behind me, and eventually I want to learn about traditional Chinese medicine. But I'm going to start with the plants that I have here around me, where I call home right now. And so these things make me feel human and alive. They make me feel like I know my place in this world when I know the plants around me, the animals around me, and how to use them in very respectful ways as well, and to give back somehow to the land. And in that way, I'm also honoring the indigenous people of this land, and in a spirit of reciprocity where I'm giving back, hopefully as much or close to as much as I am taking from the land. So these are some of the reasons why I do the work that I'm doing. And I just wanted to share with you as well, one of my family traditions of connecting to our Chinese culture is obviously through food. So as a young girl, two of my favorite foods were dan tut and gai mein bao, and my 14-year-old son absolutely loves those two. And his popo, my mom lives just down the street from me, and she is always spoiling him with dan tut and gai mein bao. And so that is one small tradition that we uphold. But we also have this tradition of going to the Chinese New Year parade every year, and that has brought us so much joy, especially watching the lion dances afterwards, and the lions trying to get the lettuce from the shop owners out front of the shops. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my connection to Chinese traditions, and a little bit about what connects me to my older ancestral traditions, as well as to this land. When my family came to Canada, it was just before I was born, and that was a time of assimilation. You know, you're in a new land, we're in Canada, so you do as Canadians do. You speak English and you leave all of your culture behind. Or at least that's what it seemed like when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s in Kamkamalai, in the Vancouver area. So I've also been asked to share with you what inspired me to explore ancestral arts and skills, and it came about in a bit of an indirect path. And as I mentioned before, I used to be an outdoor educator and a guide, but I also came from the corporate world. I worked in the legal industry, and I worked in mental health in a university setting. I was an event planner. I did many things, but I was always asking that question somewhere deep inside of me: what does it mean to be human and alive? And I didn't feel those connections at that time until I started to learn ancestral skills. So doing things with my hands, with materials from the earth. So I learned how to tan the skin of deer and other animals. Tanning is actually something that connects every single human being around the world. Every human has relied on the skin of an animal or another creature that, in order to survive and to be more comfortable as they survive. And when I make plant medicines, you can see behind me I have jars with my plant medicines. Humans have always relied on plants for healing. We have nature's apothecary right outside our window. Chinese medicine is based so much on herbs. So that's just a little bit about my connection and to salmon and to this land that I call home, to my Chinese culture. It's an ongoing journey that I don't think will ever end. I plan to learn Chinese calligraphy. I want to learn as much of the Chinese language as I can, and I'm really interested in the old Chinese pictographs and the origins of the written Chinese language. So I also have a huge interest in traditional Chinese medicine and really want to learn as much of that as possible. So as I mentioned, it's going to be a lifelong journey. So I hope that was interesting to you. I would like to wish you Gong Hei Fat Choi, Happy Chinese New Year, and say Hoyt Mathoth. See you soon in the Squamish language.